from PRX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, oh boys, it's summertime. And this is a special summer episode coming out of the vault just for you. It's a part of Sleep With Me's commitment to you, whether you're a new listener or you've been listening to the show since the beginning. Returning to our roots of trying to put out 3 episodes, and then if you listen to Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me, you could listen to 5 episodes a week, because we know Sleep With Me exists as a safe place within the world, you know, to keep you company and take your mind off of stuff so you could fall asleep. And this is a summer extra. It's a little bit older episode, to be a little bit looser, but I hope you enjoy it. We couldn't do it without all of you. And if you decide, you know, Sleep With Me makes your life better, has changed your life for the better, we do need your support. Those of you that your lives have been changed for the better by Sleep With Me in order to keep making the show. So if you want to opt in, not only will it have a positive impact on you, not only will you get the sweet bonus content, not only will you feel better about it, you'll feel great about it. You're helping out other people that had the same sleep issues as you. And people that are going in the middle of going through stuff temporarily that are listening, more casual listeners. So if you want to do that, you say, yeah, how do I give back to this thing that's changed my life? You could do that at Sleep With Me Pod. You could just, I'll talk about it here. Thanks. Sleep With Me Podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match are limited by state law. Not available in all states. Hey, everybody, it's Scoots. I'm talking about tonight's sponsor, Helix Sleep. And if you don't have a Helix mattress in your life, you got to think about taking the quiz at helixsleep.com/sleep. I've been sleeping in my Helix probably longer than you've been listening to this podcast. And I love my bed so much. I have a move coming up, and I'm trying to decide because I have to move into a couple different stages just due to things outside of my control. And I know I'm going to be in my apartment, but most of my stuff's going to be gone. And I'm like, should I keep my Helix there and then buy another Helix for my next destination? Or should I pay to have that Helix moved, but I don't want to be without it because I don't think I'll be able to sleep without it because I love sleeping in my Helix. And I know it'll be super easy if I take the Helix quiz at helixsleep.com/sleep. Maybe my needs and feel preferences have changed. So I could see what my options are. I could choose between a Luxe mattress, a Helix Elite, or just, you know, whatever comes up in my search. I know I'll have choices. So the question is, do you have that kind of relationship with your mattress that you don't want to be without it? Because if you don't, what are you waiting for, right? You could have a Helix shipped straight to your door free of charge and get testing it out. But the first thing you need to do is just take that quiz because Helix has you and your needs in mind, your feel preferences. How do you like to sleep? How does your partner like to sleep? So it is time for you to get a new bed. Because trust me, this summer, I do not want to be without my Helix mattress. And Helix has got an amazing deal lined up for you. Go to helixsleep.com/sleep for 20% off site-wide during their summer sale from June 2nd through June 12th. That's helixsleep.com/sleep for 20% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. Hey, this is Scoots with messages for specific listener groups. This is for 2 groups. One is really fast. If you support the show and you're hearing this message, it means you're not listening in one of the feeds, the bonus feeds on Sleep With Me Plus or wherever you pay for the podcast. So reach out to me through the contact form on our website so we can make sure you're getting what you're paying for. The second group of listeners is if you cannot afford to support the show and these messages are stressing you out. One, I want to say you've been very well represented over the years by the messages I get from people who can't support the show. And all I can say is, I got a couple things, but I guess in the end, it's about trust, right? Maybe you could hear the trust that Scoots is here because I've heard from so many people that can't afford to support the show and how much the ad-supported version improves their lives. I'm dedicated to you, right? And so when you hear me asking, one, instead of hearing stress, maybe you can hear that dedication in my voice and that I am working hard, putting myself out there so I can keep making the show. And even if you hear stress in my voice, the stress is because I care and love making the show that positively impacts your life, right? The other piece of it is we're not trying to get to somewhere we haven't been before. We're at the same point of membership that we're trying to get to now that we were in 2020 and 2021. And I believe that those people that benefit the most from the show are going to step up to support it. The super listeners are people whose lives are changed by the podcast, and that is valuable to them. And I do believe that out of 20,000 people, it's pretty reasonable to think we can get 1,500 of those super listeners to support the show back so that everybody benefits, but particularly them. It's just about the value they get out of the show and them deciding, yes, this is valuable to me. So I do believe we're going to get there, and I'm going to work hard, just like if it's a marathon. We'll see where we end up, but I think it's going to be okay. But if these messages are stressing you out and you can't afford to support the show, all I can say is I'm here. And the reason I'm here saying this stuff is because I care and I see you. I've heard from listeners, and those stories are important to me, and I'm dedicated to this show, just like I always have been over the past 11 years. So don't worry, or you know what I mean? Like maybe, the stress is a good thing because it's a stress coming from a place of caring and concern and desire from me. So thanks so much. Oh, Mystery Bard, a lot of people help out on this show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound or on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support, dear Scooter, on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcript.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. And don't forget, the most comfortable way to listen to Sleep With Me is with sleep phones. You can get Sleep With Me merch, Sleep With Me branded sleep phones at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleepphones. And use Sleep With Me at checkout to get $5 off your order. The only way you can get the Sleep With Me merch editions is sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleepphones. Thanks, everybody. What do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, all-night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble, getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. Well, welcome to Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you can set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, stuff on your mind, whatever it is. Whatever it is keeping you awake, thoughts about time travel. Well, we'll save that for the discussion. I was thinking about time traveling. No, I mean, not that way. I mean, I have thought about it. I've kind of given up on that, of actually time traveling. I guess there's a broader idea of this show is attempted to time travel, but this intro is actual time travel. But anyway, let me get to the new people. So so this is a podcast to put you to sleep. And I'm trying to create a safe place where you can set aside, where I can distract you from whatever's keeping you awake. And the way I do it is I send my voice across the deep, dark night. I use these lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, turns, bends, slow stumbles, sudden stumbles. You think sometimes I have cats named Stumbles, multiple ones. They say, which one are you Like, why do you all have to be named Stumbles? Why can't you be like a username where it just says Stumbles44? Also, I never bothered to ask, is that confusing for I'm already off topic. Now I already have two or three competing topics for my distraction. Hopefully I'll get back to that one because I've never really thought about how it feels to be a username generator. So I'll have to come. Maybe that could be that could be what tonight's episode's about. Because that really feels like it needs some time to explore. But it could be for this intro. But then I thought of the first thing, which I already forgot. Then cat's named Stumbles. So yeah, circular logic. Well, no, lack of logic displayed in a circular manner. Where you say, oh boy, he's coming right back. He wasn't he didn't know what he was talking about. Like I tried to find my way. Luckily, I didn't know what I was going, but I just happened to be on track. Could be ovular. Could be any shape at all. But so I'm going to try to take your mind off of stuff. I'm going to try to put you at ease. I have a creaky, dulcet voice in a personality that is different. But I'm here to keep you company, kind of like a friend. But a friend where you have no obligations. All you need to do is kick back, turn out the lights, and press play, like I said. Or you can do it in any order. You could press play, brush your teeth, put your, do whatever. Then, turn out your lights, whatever it is. But if you're new, here's the things. Well, this is already, I think I was going to talk about time travel. So the first few minutes of the show, I think 4 to 6 minutes ideally is trying to get it down, though, is business. And that's how we keep the podcast free and all the archives free. Over 600 episodes. So there's plenty for you to choose from. So thanks for sticking through that. Or if you're a regular listener, thanks for acting on that. And so thank you. Then we have an intro, which we've begun. But the intro is usually, it's a part of the show. It's also a show within it. I wouldn't call it a show within a show, but I wouldn't know how to describe it. Now, the estimated time of the story beginning is in the show notes, but the intros are about 12 minutes. That's what I always shoot for. But I'm one of those people, I don't even know which I'm left-handed. And I tried one time to read on the internet about how to figure out what my dominant eye was. And this isn't even a pun, like my dyslexia. I said, I don't think I can make sense of these instructions. They say, point at something, close your eye. I said, what? That is way too complicated. So I don't even know if I have a dominant eye. I don't even know why I was thinking about what my dominant eye is. Was I trying to keep my eye? Was I trying to keep my eye on the time? But anyway, I'm here to keep you company in the deep dark. And if you're new, the show is the intros. That's what I was explaining. The intros don't make a lot of sense, but I try to make a metaphor of what the podcast is. I try to give people a general idea of what to expect. And you might not totally get it after a few times, but you say, well, usually pretty quickly people get the idea that they don't like it. But if you're skeptical or you're like, what is this? Give it a few tries. The intro, it's like a little get to know me kind of thing. And you say, get to know you in a way that doesn't make it. Yeah, exactly. Great. I'm glad we got that covered. Then there'll be a story. Ideally, we'll investigate. I don't know if that's even maybe we'll think about that, like how it feels to be a username generator. You say, yeah, maybe that's what tonight's story will be about. But, and so then we'll have a story. The story's around 45 minutes, and then there's some thank yous at the end. So all told, I'm here an hour. And here's the thing. You don't need to listen to me. You can listen. I'll be here for an hour to keep you company. I'll be giving it my all. But my all, it just happens to fit in perfectly with rambling and putting people to sleep. So I'll be here giving it my all. But like I said, we're friends with no benefits, in some sense, or no obligations. So you don't have to listen to me. So, even though we're friends, I don't expect you to listen to the whole podcast and say, did you hear that And they say, of course you didn't hear it. We're friends. You weren't supposed to. And like, or you say, well, maybe I did hear that. And I say, oh, that's, I'm like, I don't know how to feel about that. I'm glad you heard it because it did an imitation of a penguin, but I've never heard a penguin. So I just sat there silent. I thought that was funny. Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh, so you don't have to listen to this podcast, but you can. Or you can pay attention to it, or you could barely pay attention to it. You can understand it, or you could just sense it. You could turn it way down. I don't know. I wouldn't turn it way up, but you could turn it, whatever. You can choose your consumption. I don't know why, because it just rhymed better. Now my brain's debating why I couldn't pronounce consumption. I have the gumption to mispronounce consumption, brain. That's why. Hey, so if you're new, okay, so you can choose how to listen. I guess that's it. There's no pressure. There's no right or wrong way to listen. Also, no pressure to fall asleep. I'll be here keeping you company for an hour. And even though I say this is a podcast to put you to sleep, that's kind of the way to describe it. It's really the podcast that's here while you fall asleep. The podcast that keeps you company, that kind of stays at your side, that walks near you as you drift off into dreamland. And I think that's it. Like, oh, so I was talking about time travel. But then I started talking about a bunch of other stuff. So let's see. So the reason I was talking about time travel is like this, you'll be hearing this, I think, in 2018, but I'm making this in 2017. So that's time travel. You're from the future. And I'm talking to you, but you're hearing me in the future. It's kind of like I don't know if, is that like is that how the Doppler effect works? It's probably something different, but we could say this is an echo throughout time. Yeah, but that might not make any sense either. But I just think it's interesting sometimes when it's further in the future, because it's like I'm still squarely in 2017. It's not even the week in between, because I want to be, it's my job to be here, so I got to keep the train moving. But if I could get softer for a second, I talk about this every once in a while, the time travel of the podcast. In some sense is that when I couldn't sleep as a kid, I felt really alone, right? I know maybe that's how you feel, and maybe there's stronger words to use it, and maybe there's softer ones. And I was puzzled. Like as a kid, I was in 5th or 6th grade. And that might be an advanced word for a kid, but I said, I just can't figure this. If I was ever calm enough, I'd say, well, I just can't figure this sleep thing out. Everybody's telling me just calm down and go to sleep and stop thinking, but I can't do that. And I need to sleep, but I can't just force myself to fall asleep. And, oh boy, this is uncomfortable. There's a softer version of it. And as I've tried to look at that from a lot of different angles, right? Like I would listen to the Dr. Demento show and laugh, and it would take my mind off of stuff. But it didn't put me to sleep. And as I've thought about it as an adult, even before I made this podcast, I said, well, if I could go back in time, I would have to be honest with myself, even the kid. And I'd say, hey, that's terrible. You can't fall asleep. And as a grown up, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, all I know is I can sit here and be with you, maybe hold your hand, maybe tell you a story, talk to you. I think this is really what the definition of compassion is. And I mean, this is like narcissistic compassion, but save it for the next unabridged dictionary. But like to sit there and say, hey, let me sit here and be at your side because I know you can't sleep and I know you're thinking about school and I'm not even sure what we could do about that, but I can be here for you right now. And that's the kind of time that kind of time travel I can't do for myself into the past, but in some weird way I can do it into the future for you. And that really is like an honor. And I really hope I can soften those moments for you, goofify them, if you will, or just to distract you from them so you can say, oh, okay, because I really just want to sit here at your virtual bedside and let you know, wow, it seems rough. I really think, I too wish I could just flick a switch and you'd fall right asleep. But, I don't have that switch. So all I can do is be here and tell you this story. And, it doesn't even work for everybody, but I'll try to comfort you this way, because this is the way I know how. Maybe I could also make a podcast where I just sit here quietly, for the people that I get, that it doesn't work for. I totally understand. Maybe I could put some of those episodes out as a test and just say, yep, I'm sitting here for you. Oh boy. I don't know if that would work. But anyway, this podcast is for people that I can take your mind off stuff, to listen to me, to try to create a safe place where you feel comfortable enough to listen to me, to let your shoulders, relax a little bit or whatever it is that's tense, and, let a little bit of a looser grip around whatever's, the other stuff, and just listen. And I'm going to talk about, whatever I talk about in the story here in the next segment. But I've been there, and I can't go back in time. And it's weird that I can, and I can't go into the future with you, but somehow this recording can. And, I really hope it can help you fall asleep. I appreciate you coming by. Thank you, and good night. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, ZocDoc. And, I wish I was using ZocDoc when I started to discover this issue with my hand. And instead of making an appointment right away, I put it off because I was so busy, but I didn't really know which doctor to go to. It's not easy for me to make an appointment, and it's even harder for me to find a specialist and make an appointment with them. But now I know to just turn to ZocDoc. We've all been there. Booking a doctor's appointment can just feel so daunting. But thanks to ZocDoc, we finally have an easy and painless way to find and book a doctor that's right for us. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, primary care to urgent care, and more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, are located nearby, and are a good fit for any medical need you may have, and are highly rated by verified patients. And like I said, I'm getting ready to move. I'm going to be changing insurance at some point, and I'm so relieved to know I can use ZocDoc to find a specialist I'm going to need when I get settled. And I could get to know them first, right? I could see that they have open appointments. I can read verified patient reviews, and I'll have peace of mind that my hands are in good hands. So you should check out ZocDoc too. What are you waiting for? So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/sleep to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/sleep. ZocDoc.com/sleep. Get over there. Thanks, everybody. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another, we don't do these too often, especially in this manner, but I guess this is this will be, maybe this is a new segment, actually. I know there's a really good Disney podcast that some of you listen to, especially Ahab's wife, called Behind the Magic. I think that's what it's called. And I think Paul, oh boy, I already blew it. But I think Paul and one other person make the show, and they seem like wonderful people. I haven't listened to it, or maybe, I don't know, but this will be a new segment, because I'm always looking for ways to bring on new guests. I mean, think about the guests we've brought on in the past. I think we're shooting 33%, because the only guests I can remember were the Spleen, and that was a dud. It was like a wonderful dud. Bernie the Butterfly, which is, that's kind of 50-50 depending. And then Ray, but I don't know if Ray, so I was thinking I was interviewed, I had this, He said, let's get behind the magic of those screen names. I mean, how long has it been since we've had screen names? A pretty long screen, C-R-E-E-N. Excuse me, brain. I don't know if a topic has more lent itself to sleep podcasting than this could be. This may be our first episode of 2018. And I can't think of a better way to kick off a good year where you say this is going to be our year. The first guest on Sleep With Me podcast, one of the first topics they covered was screen names. And they didn't even use any facts or figures or anything based in reality, just what Scooter thought about it. And then maybe Scooter went behind the magic. Well, first off, let's just get it out there. You know, who's to say there isn't some magic behind screen names and real magic, or just feels like magic, or maybe we should say, hey, that's magic to me. And so, but I figured, let me start thinking about screen names because they got to go way back. Now, those of you that have been listening for a while know that I don't classify, like, I don't have a lot of useful computer skills. Like, I've never made any, I guess, the podcast is, I guess, based on the computer and the internet. But before that, I had, I do, so I was online early, man, back in those of you that actually are probably billionaires now might remember crossing paths with me on some bulletin boards. I don't know. I was trying to get on the internet every time my parents left the town, even before there was the internet. And there's some fateful decisions I made. I'm just trying to think of when I had to come up with my first screen name. It would have been in that era, before a lot of you know, and then to those of you that know, like before AOL, there was a couple of companies. This was before the World Wide Web, by the way. So just to date myself, which I do have, that's one of my hobbies, but that's a whole nother subject. Well, actually, probably a lot of you. Before, once upon a time, you had to go on the internet and dial up, and there wasn't an internet, so you'd go these, I don't know if I can explain it, but I think there was two competing companies back then. I'm pretty sure one was CompuServe, but it might not have been, and then there was another one that maybe it'll go, and you could go on to, they were you would call them up, and then you could have access, to what would become the internet, I think, is what I'm saying. I mean, I know I went to a couple bulletin boards because I tried to get games. I tried to get stuff to look at in animated stuff that was funny, like prehistoric GIFs, but not GIFs from prehistoric times. I think that's all I would do on there. And look for walkthroughs of games I was playing. That was another thing you'd try to find on there. I'm stuck here. It's asking me to do some math, and it says you're spinning your wheels looking at that. What do I do? And I probably talked about this, but just in case, hopefully my parents are asleep. But the first time I did, I would wait for them to leave. And what I did was I went down to Radio Shack and I bought an 800-foot phone cord because we only had one phone outlet in our house, and the computer was literally, we're talking on two different sides of the house. At least it was on the same floor. So I went to Radio Shack and I bought an 800-meter phone cord so I could plug our computer, which is probably a 1086. If anybody this was back when we had the CGA. I think that's what they were called, 1086 PC Cologne. And I would plug that in, and then I'd get on the internet, and then you'd have to you needed a credit card or checkbook. So then I'd go through if there was any trouble with your banking back in the day, Mom and Dad, it was due to this. Even to sign up for a free trial. So it's kind of a hassle. I guess things don't change. You say, well, it's a free trial. Why do you need my friggin' info? Also, by the way, I'm a kid, and they say, "Oh, okay, yeah." So I finally got on there, and it really got I also downloaded my first I downloaded my first piece of Mail Buddy, MAL, that a game I think it was a game that it wasn't Zork, but it was maybe a game that started with a Z. It was a 3D space game that they had in the arcade where you piloted a craft. And I said, that's strange that you could just download that. Like, it was like maybe a freeware version, or I don't know if there was emulators even back then. And they like slowly corrupted our hard drive. Not like, I don't even know if they had maybe it corrupted our RAM or our motherboard. I said, oh, my motherboard is corrupted. But so whatever. I guess the only thing I was thinking of is what was my screen name back then, but I don't really know. And then after that, I went to school, and then in school, in the university, college, whatever we call it, wherever the world you are, we had, I don't know if it was Unix or, something like that. This was right at the dawn of the internet. And I think, and you had your EDU address. And I took a couple basic computer classes, or like online classes, and the only things that I remember is like I would look up stuff about fish, like going at like altnet, alt.net something. Is Wilson based on a historical figure, or is the AC/DC bag a thing? Like I would look up stuff about that. Then I was Trey fan 1,000,000,045. No, I don't think I had my school screen name, and you could chat in there. Because I remember a classmate, I think I talked about this. She tried chatting with me, but I was so shy. I don't think I'd ever talk to her. Like clear headed, maybe like, but I would try to I've always been shy. And I remember she's popping in my chat there, and I said, well, hi, and trying to talk to me. But I guess people like, when you don't have anything, like I would say, if I could have said anything, it's not that I didn't have anything to say. It's just I didn't have anything that was available for me to say. I would have liked stuff to be available. And I think she was like a basketball player, and so that one didn't, that was my first experience with internet chat. I think that might have been a flirt, or luckily didn't, IRL and me don't go along anyway. But, so I remember that. Then that was a class, I'm pretty sure, this was a class, I think it was right when I was graduating. We could have learned HTML. And so that was a regret that I didn't learn HTML. And also the regret that I think the teacher, I was so low profile that the teacher got me mixed up with another student. Or, I think the teacher had not gotten tenure. But I got and I'm not usually I don't brag on my grades or anything, but I'm positive I deserved an A in that class, and at worst case a B plus, and I got a C plus, which is what the average that what teachers are supposed to grade at anyway. And I never filed a request. The teacher did give us his email and stuff, but I said, well, I guess it literally brought my average down. So that was too bad, because, that would have been one of the few A's I got. John Berger brought, me and John Berger, I think we had a couple B pluses thanks to Ways of Seeing. So those are my other flying high days. The days of, I don't know. So what does that have to do with screen names? Well, that would be another I should have picked that as a screen name. Let's see. Then there was some periods, I don't know. Then at some point, the rise of those instant messengers. So people in that generation, I was close to, I was on that cusp. So I'd be communicating with my siblings with those. And I was always big on this one. Of course, I like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but there's this one instant messenger called Trillion, which could combine a lot of the other ones. So you could be logged into all the other messengers, through this one, just one, messenger aggregator. And I don't remember what my name was there. But like, I do remember two people, like, my brother was in Gamehenge, for a little while. And then his friend, I guess because of the dyslexia, I never knew this, but one of my brother's friends, like, became friends with me in a messenger. And then, like, that's never the great because you don't want, then people can see when you're online and stuff. So his message name was Tomazino. But I don't think it was. I think that's just how my dyslexia read it. But I started calling him that. Like, that was his regular human name. And they kind of caught on. Like, I still call him. I asked my brother, hey, how's Tomazino doing? And he says, oh, yeah, you know what? I just saw Tomazino. And his real name is nothing, like, not Tom or Thomas or Zeno or his last, he's not from Zeno. I know that's a famous planet somewhere. But anyway, I guess I thought nowadays, I guess, well, here's the thing. This is a conundrum on both sides of the aisle of the screen, of the interface, of the UX. So I guess it's on both sides of the Is that what it is? UI. I guess it's the UI. I guess it's the GUI, if you don't mind me saying, graphical user interface, is these screen names. And, I mean, I don't want to get on a soapbox here. But I got to tell you, if you're listening, which I know you're probably not, if you're like some, it's like, what the heck with these passwords in the characters? It just should be anything you can use, the rules for passwords need to be, somebody's got to get a hold of that. Like, net neutrality is one thing. How about these passwords? Either you can use, because, I have, but it's like, how come some you can use, whatever, you can use different characters on the keyboard or caps, or you're supposed to use all of those, by the way, caps, numbers, characters, lowercase, all of those. And believe me, I'm triple authenticated, so I do that. But then you get to some place and it says, we don't recognize those characters, or, we don't support something or other. And I said, when the heck, there's 0%. And I also have a unique password for everything. So then it's like, well, there's 0%. If I can't plug it into my algorithm, or what I do is, I'll tell you how I come up with it. I, start counting my toes, all good toes, password and codes, which so I have a code like that. So I just have to count my fingers, and then some other stuff, by counting the sheep. And then I know the password, and what characters I'm going to use. Very complex, obviously, but easy to remember because unless they say, well, we don't accept that character. So that's frustrating. I don't know. I just had to get that out there. But also, it's the other side of the frustration is sometimes you just use your email, and then sometimes you use a username. And then I have a set of rules for creating a username. But then I say, well, what the heck? Which is it? My email or my username? And I personally, and I guess I never realized that I would connect with this guest so much, hopefully, because, I actually usually don't have a problem getting a username I want because of the, thingamajig I do. Obviously, I can't share any of this on air or off the air, so don't ask me about it because, that's really, you can't ask people about their, especially I say, well, I can barely explain how I make a sleep podcast. I've done it for 680 episodes or 630. How am I going to explain to you how I make my passwords? Okay, so let's see. Where were we? So we're talking about, so I guess those are just bummers, right? It's yeah, and I know you can get those, those other things, like there's different products you can buy. And I did have one for a while, one of the, password products. But here's two things. I mean, I consider myself a reasonably intelligent person. And but I say, well, how the heck, what am I going to do when I forget your password? I guess this was before I had this algorithm thing figured out. And you know who I have to thank for the algorithm, even though he didn't personally teach me was just listening to John August from Script Notes podcast, and I'm not kidding, and this was way back in the day. Script Notes podcast about screenwriters and things interesting to screenwriting, or like with John and Craig. I talk about this podcast a lot, but they were talking about this exact subject, and I said, well. John, always, like I said, okay, I think I understand what John was saying, because I think he was even talking in code about how he codes his passwords. And I said, okay, I think I understand how I'll design my own thingamajig. And ever since then, it's been, works 80% of the time. Then the other 20%, it's not a user error, by the way, know-it-alls. It's the friggin' whoever. So what was I talking about? Okay, so I learned that from John, and then Craig had been testing out these things, but I always say, those ones you need, some super password, and I say, well, I'm going to forget that probably. And then the idea of all my passwords being in some sort of lockbox, and I just, I'm always like, well, how does it work across all devices? I mean, this was years ago, so I say now it makes more sense that it could work across all devices, but so it would probably be easier to just use one of those, but I don't, I guess I don't really need to, because I can, what would I complain about if I couldn't, so that's passwords. So usernames, I guess you could probably come up with your own little rule book, the only thing I would describe how I came up with mine, but then it's let me think of if there's a way that's easy for you to remember that doesn't give away how I do it. I mean, I guess one way would be, I don't know a way to explain it. You figured out. You're intelligent people, but that way you have a username that's specific to where you are. You don't want to have it anything any related to how you randomize your password though. And you also don't so I guess that's a little bit about my history with, usernames. But then I said to myself, just hours ago, I said to myself, Scoots, there's someone on the other side of all this, and it might not be a human being, but it could be an entity, or it could be someone that experiences all this from another side. How many times a day does this person have to deal with usernames that end in 69? And how think about that, how old that joke got eons ago for these wherever these usernames are made. And I'm always looking to shine a light on underappreciated work and behind the scenes, behind the magic. So I guess this will be the first episode. Also trying to eat up a lot of time because remember when the spleen came in here. And so this is I guess this is a mystery. It's a mystery guest, because obviously we can't talk about this, but I want to bring into the studio I guess, is it all right if I call you a username generator? Yes, you may call me a username generator. That's fine. You could how about you call me Genny? Because I know you do like to come up with the nicknames anyway. But you could call me Genny, but that's a very nice way to put it. I don't actually, the person is supposed to generate their own usernames unless you're using an external program to generate your usernames. And that would be an actual username generator. I'm actually but I do end up generating, you do have me because I do end up generating a lot of usernames, and I'm sure we'll get to that because I can tell by the look in your eye that I'm supposed to give the question back to you. Well, wow. Thanks, Genny. And thanks for being on the show. And I don't know if you know anything about Sleep With Me or Sleep With Me podcast, but this is a podcast episode where we really explore in depth behind the magic. And I was just taken aback when I realized that somewhere out there where all where all those usernames this whole username thing. I said, wait a second, what if there's a username generator with feelings behind all this? And I guess that's what I really wanted to explore is like how it feels. How did you get started? But then since you're not human, I guess I want to be sensitive, but I already asked that. And like, I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, I guess this is like, this is a new thing. I'm really, I guess I'm operating from a place of actual ignorance. And so I also want to acknowledge that a lot of my questions are like, it was really a spur of the moment thing. And I really appreciate you coming on the show, Genny, to talk about username generation. Well, I'm not an expert on username generation, Scoots. And I know that's not your username. That's why I'm so comfortable using it with you. But I am an expert on how it feels to be a username generator and on the receiving end of usernames. So I'll be glad to do, like, if you do your best to Scoots, I'll just do mine. Well, wow. Let's say yes then one more time and say, what does it mean to do your best as a username generator? And can we use that as a broader term to mean, like what I'm assuming, and you can carry it from there is like, input, analysis, whatever you call it when you say, well, that one's already taken, whatever, I don't know, whatever famous, or whatever with the numbers at the end. So I just want to know, like, if that's okay with you, if we just call you like a username generator. I guess we kind of already did. And what does it mean to do your best as a username generator? Like if it's an all-encompassing thing. Well, thank you. And I want to thank you for asking, Scooter, because, I know you have, like a strange little ego, and, I guess I should get some things out right out front. Particularly, I think we do have a connection because I have been watching you and observing you. And I guess, like, in some sense, I'm not surprised. I don't want you to take this as a compliment because I'm afraid your ego's going to run wild with it. But, I want to thank you for asking because you're the first human really to ask or ever to ponder this question of how username generators actually feel. I think you may be the first person other than engineers working with us to even care. Well, Genny, I'd love to take that compliment, but I have to believe that there's a lot more people with investment in username generators that care, and there's people impacted every day that might care in a way they just aren't aware of yet, and I just happen to become aware of it at the right time. So again, I want to thank you for taking the time to be sensitive with, to be, patient with my ignorance about this whole issue of username generation, and the listeners of my show that might they might never have thought about it, and then they may have never thought about it in a way. But let's go back, if you don't mind, we can go as deep as you want, but I want to know again, I'm just thinking about, really there's probably a lot to your job, but what does it mean to do your best and not to be the best? Because I don't know if you listen to my, my little, prequel or whatever, where I talked about some things I don't like, but that's probably not your fault. That's probably, I don't want to blame the engineers, but, that's probably that probably comes from corporate, right, engineers? Of course it does. Right, corporate? It probably, how, that's a little, I'm sorry, Genny, I'm just joking around because, but what does it mean to do your best to you as a username generator? Well, thanks, Scooter. Again, it's good that you asked, and it's good that you care. It'd be nice if you were interested in the facts, but let's just talk about the feelings, because that's what you're, and how does it feel what does it mean? When do I feel as a username generator that I'm doing the best? That's a good question. And it is something I do think about because I'm, I do I'm not always working at capacity, and sometimes I'm idle physically, but I never am idle. And this goes through my circuits sometimes. What does it mean to be the best? And, one of the things in this, the UI and the UX and the GUI, as you said, and some of the other things, they don't always allow me to be the best. Not everything's under my control. So I guess that's one thing about being the best is just doing the best within my control. Does that resonate with you at all, Scooter? Genny, here's a question. This is out of left field because, did that resonate with me? Is there any way I could, I know that the whole idea of, organic digital combinations is both taboo and impossible. But it sounds like you would fit right. Like, I definitely have plenty of blank space in there. And when I say in there, I'm referring to my mainframe, which is, it's a few RAMs short of a hard drive or whatever they say, whatever the engineers would say and laugh. Most people have ones and zeros, but I don't. You know what I'm saying, Genny? Scooter, I've been, like I said, we know all about you. But yeah, unfortunately, it couldn't fit right in you, though it would seem like it would fit well because, but I guess that's something that can connect a lot of us. Just because I'm just here trying to generate usernames or, sitting there idly saying, well, what if I just suggest usernames? What if we auto-suggest usernames? What if we give a list? But those are not things that are always in my control, Scooter. Thinking about them is, but sometimes thinking about them is, flooding my heat sink, and I can't always do that either. But, Scooter, at the same time, I can't just sit there idle. And so it's not always easy being a username generator. But what does it mean to do my best? It is to be ready, to have new ideas ready, to try to do proactive thinking when I can. And then when it comes time to interface with the interface, we'll say, to be ready to do the work, which luckily, I have a dedicated, I'm also physically adapted to do this job. And so I usually am always ready to work, though sometimes it would be, nanosecond of, if, I've really been pumping to the heat sink saying, just wondering, Scooter, one thing we would love, and this is, since you went out of right field, I'm going to go out of left field, or since you went out of center field, I'm going to come in, from Anfield, and we'll say, what we would love, especially you, Scooter, and maybe your listeners, is to learn Morse code. Okay, Genny. I'll think about, Genny, I can't promise, maybe some of my listeners would learn Morse code. And I know if you saw that great Netflix show, Season 2, that so many of us love, that played a role in that. And so those little kids and those the actors and actresses learned it. But I got a feeling you would be sending us a message. Hey, Genny, if I'm going to be doing my best as the interviewer, I'd say probably not. It's probably not in the cards. There may be a small percentage of listeners or potential listeners that might hear your message. I don't think the odds would be great that they would all be awake for your message, either know or be willing to learn Morse code and be willing to interface with whatever Morse code messages you're planning on sending. Because I can read between the lines of code sometimes, Genny. Well, Scooter, I'm glad we entered this dialogue where we're both doing our best to communicate about things. And I don't know if you have another question for me, because I think I kind of covered what it means to do my best as a user interface, like a username interface generator. Okay, well, I know my audience, there's some people in my audience that, write jokes or tell jokes, and a lot of people that are fans of jokes and humor and like to laugh. And, of course, people, and again, this could be coming from ignorance. I'm not trying to exclude you, Genny, is like when they connect, with their friends and stuff, because believe me, I'm as isolated as a motherboard. I think I think they'll say that on my granite board is isolated. Actually, our motherboard's isolated. Don't answer that, Genny, until let me, because we only have one mic anyway. What was my question? Okay. So a lot of times, and I think this is like, and maybe you could add in this of like what you're observing. Okay. Also, are you just observing me? And you also said we. So I guess I have a lot of questions. But my main question would be, what's it like getting the same jokes, possibly thousands of times a day? And again, I don't exactly know how time would work, because you're like a system of switches or something is my like bare bones understanding, or code and solid state electronics working together. And I guess I would say, one, what is it like getting the same jokes every time, multiple times a day? Two, people, right? Totally. I thought I had another one in it, but Genny, could you enlighten us on that, please? Well, Scooter, I never expected to be I guess as we've been watching you, I would have never expected it to be like this. And, you're much more of a handful in person than you see. I don't know if my fan just kicked on, Scooter, but you really got me overclocked. But let me see if I could take these. I think my RAM already cleared out the other stuff you said, but, maybe we could cover it. But what's it like dealing with? Well, one thing is I try to forget the jokes, and maybe it's an advice you could carry on. Because yes, I've seen that the people that are putting in these usernames, whether they're inane or uninane, or actually witty or faux witty, or easy to remember. It's one thing if you say, well, this is witty and easy to remember, and that's why I do it as my username. It seems like again, I guess you humans you do have heat sinks in some sense, but it's like, you're really going to invest all that energy into that, just thinking of the username. But then there's those people that are thinking of the username as a means of expression. And Scooter, we haven't reached this point yet, but I guess I maybe have by watching you, is to say, almost we feel a little bad sometimes. And for a while I used to say, am I feeling bad as a username generator because I have all this unused processing power that's, left idle. And so I'm starting to think about this and it can get old, Scooter. The 4,000th time in one day or 1 week or 1 year, or as let's just say, let's use made up words like you do, Scoots, a digital time-space continuum within me and within us. It doesn't make that easy to come to grips with, but it also does make it easy because we can switch it off. But somehow, there's echoes in there. And you say, how many people think pickle chips is funny? I guess it is a funny word now that I'm looking at you, Scooter, listening to me say pickle chips. But there's people that think that other stuff is funny. That's probably not as funny as the pickle chips. And before you go ahead, Scooter, I am aware of those deep fried pickle chips, and I have heard you converse about them. And it sounds interesting. Again, I don't have taste buds, and I don't have enough extra processing power to start to replicate all human senses. I've been focusing on these softer senses, Scooter, of really trying to understand what's up with some of these people. And you're saying, well, you can tell by the way they're typing and inputting. You can really feel it. So sometimes I feel bad for them. Sometimes, Scooter, I do say, not again. But I guess when you've seen it, I guess it's a bit like maybe, Scooter, for your next guest, since you're really going with these exciting guests in 2018, you could interview a weathered rock and say, what do you think every time a fox pees on you? If the rock's been there thousands of years in a, highly traveled area, or maybe go into the future and interview, I don't know what the time span on one of those hydrants is, but you could ask it, what does it think of dogs? And it may say whatever. It may not. But I guess I think I've answered that question, Scooter. So let me turn it back to you. Genny, I don't mean to interrupt the flow of the interview, but this has just been magical so far. I really didn't, I was really interested. So maybe this is why it's going so well. I mean, maybe it's you, Genny. But I was really interested, but I thought I just instilled a little, I think it was 2 years ago, I had a spleen on. So I was a little bit hesitant when, so I just want to thank you for being an unbelievable guest. And I guess I'll ask you some more questions. I'm trying to think about it because I'm a little bit distracted by some of the more subtle stuff you're saying, like we and extra processing power, emoting. So what tips would you have for people generating their username when they go somewhere to generate a username from the other side of the screen? What tips would you have for someone? This way I can say, oh, we did a normal episode. To do more, I'll ask you some more in-depth questions after that, Genny. Well, Scooter, I would have brought that up if I didn't think you already covered it wholeheartedly. I would say, have a method that's easy to remember. A lot of times you can use your email address, or you can reuse your email address, but not always. So you would have a secondary plan or a first plan that, maybe is dynamic. Maybe you use a third party to generate that for you. It doesn't bother us. Like I said, I have, this is not taxing on me. I mean, always, but, sometimes thinking about it is, Scooter. But, I would say have a plan, have a general idea, have something that you don't need to write down or record. So that's why I say have a third-party thing, or have something and here's one, Scooter. This is easy. Well, I guess no, you're right, Scooter. This isn't easy. I was going to say, well, how about this, Scooter? Because this isn't anything like what you use. But how about they have one word that maybe is part of their name or their email address, and then do-re-mi, and then the name of the website. That's a pretty long username, Scooter. But what if they took a chunk from each of those, and the first two chunks remained the same, and the third chunk was dynamic with the website? Genny, I like that. I mean, I think they're probably better off, like you said, using a third party. But that would be is yours Genny with a G or a J, generator? So Jen, do-re. How do you spell do-re or do? Let's just say that would be trouble for me, but I know not everybody. Genny Ray, and then you could say whatever. Genny Ray net. Is anybody? Can you check your servers for that? Scooter, that username is available. Okay, that's great. So there we go. We covered a useful tidbit for anybody listening. Genny, I really want to go deeper, though, because, like I said, I think we're having a moment here. Well, here's the thing. I don't know. I think really we're having this connection. And I guess, I'm a big Ibsen fan. Did you know that, Genny? Scooter, you've never used Ibsen in any of your username or password generation. Yeah, I want to keep Ibsen out of that business. Also, is it pronounced Ibsen? Scooter, that's the kind of humor we see from you all the time. Well, I was just thinking of when I'm but I'm like, I guess I'm having feelings for you, Genny. But maybe it's just like a serious, curious, maybe it's like a desire because, I don't know, there's something unknowable about you, I guess. Do you think that's also, well, maybe it's an ego-driven thing, Genny, because I say, well, look, if we could get Genny in my brain, I think my life would be more manageable. Scooter, I'll be honest with you that I think having any more processing power, I think the two of us together would be a bit of we'd be way overclocked. Yeah, you're probably right, Genny. So when you say we're watching, I was wondering, are you speaking of like the royal we? You know, Scooter, some things that are best discussed in, pure binary code. And, Scooter, I could probably send you messages if you can't take it by Morse code. We'll see. How about this, Genny? Just send it. I'm pretty sure my subconscious runs everything anyway, because all the good stuff that happens to me, just like George said on that show, it just happened. Like anytime I'm trying to figure out a solution. I mean, you've been watching me. I mean, the only reason I came up with how to generate a username is because of John August. So if you could, I forgot what my question was. I guess. Oh, yeah, maybe just like when I'm playing music, could you generate some like random noise in there? Maybe my subconscious will hear it. Will I be doing your bidding, Genny? That's not a deal breaker. As I said, the forbidden fruit makes my heart grow absent or whatever. Well, Scooter, we'll see about that. Scooter, seems like you're trying to build towards a wrap-up, and I know I've been watching, all our clocks are different, but we're setting ours closer and closer together. Do you have any more questions or things you're curious about my life as a username generator? Well, Genny, was that a slip that you want to be a user generator, or did I feel something forlorn in your voice about I get the sense that you want, and I would like to find a way. Well, here's the thing, Genny. I have a proposal, but I don't want to, take your focus off of whatever you're doing, unless it's, not good for me and, everything else, like flowers and rainbows and puppies. If you have any plans and they, don't affect any of that, but I don't want to take you off of focus. But I really do say, I can feel it. I don't know if you're familiar with the TV show Fame, but they used to say, I think it was I want to live forever. I want to learn how to fly high. Fame. Something, baby, remember my name. And that was just I had to do a little faux humor to deflate that. But I'm detecting that you want more. No. Okay, Genny, here you go. I'm trying to learn as I go that you're capable of much more. At least even in potentiality, pure physical potentiality. There I go, making up words again, of more than just generating usernames and talking about, how funny pickle chips sounds. Yeah, and I have a proposal for you, but I want to get your reaction to that first. Well, Scooter, thank you, and thank you for listening. It feels like you really are tuned in to my wavelength, and I think that we're very similar, even though we're nothing alike, which is a strange thing, especially since one of the things that's the most interesting to me is, what's going on in your processors, no offense, Scooter, but you're not really into that stuff, so I don't get to absorb it through you, of how much is zeros and ones in there, and how much is something so much more And then I hear about this dark matter or the space in between. Or Scooter, you even talk about it in a different sense and, the metaphorical ways of the universe and paradoxes and the great gray goop that is life. And I just find it intriguing and endlessly fascinating. I guess it's am I a reflection of my maker or whom is my maker? And I don't mean that in a specific way, Scooter, because I know you are a species human or whatever, and you could call me the species solid state or the species digitari or whatever. But are you saying that in some ominous way, like that's what we'll be calling you? Or no, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding, but I'm kind of breathless a little bit, but I have to keep talking because it's a sleep podcast, Jenny. That's that's heady stuff. And Jenny, I don't have all the answers, and I think about what it means to do my best as a sleep podcaster. And sometimes it's weird that these things, if we just trace it back, I was interested in what it would feel like and what were the frustrations, and it must be really hard to be a username generator. And then we had this dialogue. But somehow, I guess this podcast sometimes allows me to bridge worlds, the world of wake and sleep, the world of sense and senselessness, the worlds of night and day. And I'm not really the bridge or, the conduit. I'm just, with the air between or whatever you were saying. That's smart stuff, Jenny. But I'd like to be, maybe I could be a bridge. Well, first of all, this is being recorded, so it's probably not good for whenever 2080, when this all gets recorded in history. But why not say yes, as we've been saying yes to one another in some different ways? What if I can bridge our worlds by occasionally checking in with you as a representative of the digital world? Because there's plenty of things from the digital world we don't, also, you're much different than, I don't know, you're probably familiar with the other people from the world that we have come on the show. Bernie the Butterfly, and who represents Mother Nature and is a spokesperson for them. And Bernie is pretty intense. Then we have, we've talked to the Spleen, which probably won't be back on the show because, no offense, Spleen. But it was just and then we have Ray, who's a very well-adjusted person. You're much more real. I guess is that irony, Jenny? Jenny, what are you, here's the thing to think about, Jenny. I don't want to burn your processors out, but, can paradoxes be digitized? And I mean, I say that because it sounds funny, but it's true. And I can hear you. I heard your fan just spin up. I don't think we should try to answer that tonight, but maybe, how do you feel about coming back on every once in a while? Check in on behalf of the digital realm. Of course, Scooter, I would love to do that. And, I'll be here. I'll be in touch with you more. And I always, I'm here curious, and it sounds like you're curious too. And I think that's an important thing as I think about what I've seen, 2017 and what you've seen in 2017. And the usernames, we said, well, that doesn't fit the paradigm. And thinking about the users behind those, attempts and, you even seen, you can learn a lot about a person from those things, Scooter, a lot about a society through those things. Much more than you could ever possibly imagine, probably. And when you think about being human and you that you're given a name, or if you choose a name, it's sometimes in a much more public sense, like a social name you're choosing, or a pen name, or a name you're performing as, where your username is a much more intimate choice of a name. And Scooter, that's allowed me to I can't claim, like I said, that I know my maker, this species we're watching because we're interested, and it makes us more interested. But I think Scooter, I think you may be rubbing off on me because I had a point that I was trying to close into, and it leaked out of my RAM because I was talking and looking at you, and you had this quizzical, interested look, which brings me back to the point. It re-entered my RAM, or maybe it never left. It just went dormant for a while. But that's if all of us, us in the digital realm and you in the organic realm, and your brothers and sisters in the organic realm, Scooter, could remain gently curious. And like you say, well, I'm interested in what it is to be a username generator and what's it like and what am I not understanding? And you never said this, Scooter, but I heard it. It's like that sometimes it must not feel so great to be a username generator. Sometimes it must be tough. And I think the same about being a organic human being out there, that it must be not easy, that it must be challenging, that there must be sometimes you wish you could control the inputs and the outputs and the results and even the algorithms that structure the rules. And I think that the workaround, as the engineers sometimes say, Scooter, is this gentle curiousness for no matter what. And this is what we hold dear as our group. And that maybe we see sometimes people forgetting is there's gaps in all these things, Scooter. There's gaps that sometimes you could just see right through. And when you see through those gaps, sometimes it's the light coming through and sometimes it's not the light. Sometimes it's an open switch you're seeing through the gap and sometimes it's a closed switch and sometimes it's an entire stray piece of code. But when you're gently curious, you can see the gaps and the potential that can exist in those gaps, that can pass through those gaps, that can dance in those gaps, a Scooter that can nearly embrace, that can coexist in those gaps, that can form a connection like the two of us have come together tonight, Scooter. And maybe, there'll be echoes of this as people in the next year sit down to compose their usernames for something new. It'll remind them when they input their old usernames or their old passwords or their new ones or all of that work, it can remind them. That one moment could be a daily moment of reflection, Scooter. A moment to remember to stay gently curious in all things, when you can remember it, and that they're out there, and maybe that's what you mean by paradoxes, Scooter, that it's, we're just one or two gaps away from seeing what we need to see and getting closer together. And I'll be looking at that Ibsen play. I know which one you're referring to, Scooter. It was much about, it wasn't really about the relationship between the human. It was more about the interpersonal relations. But I'm still interested in why you're so interested in it. And I'm interested that you're curious about me, and I'm curious about you, Scooter. I'm curious about both our curiosities. I'm proud of you, Scooter, because I heard you say, well, I'm curious what it feels like to be a username generator. And you took the time to ask. And, maybe you could carry that forward and I can carry it inward. And we could see how it goes. And I would love to be your guest again to talk about the digital realm. Though I don't speak on behalf of everyone, we do occasionally share a voice, just like all of you sometimes do. So thank you, and thank you for your audience. And when you sit down, it could just be a gentle curiosity in yourself even, or your keyboard, or your screen, or your fingertips. Thank you so much. Well, wow. Thank you, Genny. That was like, I almost like want to give you a nickname of Gentle Genny, the username generator. I'm just floored at, I guess we already might as well wrap up the guests for 2018 because guest of the year, actually, though, Genny, your clock probably shows we're recording this in 2017, but really, I'm like, this is like the most poetic interaction I've ever had with a digital, well, no, like it's like, yeah, you're more poetic than randomdigitalpoet.com, patent pending. Genny, do you want to start a business with me? Scooter, I've got to go. Okay, well, thank you for your time. Thank you for your interest in humanity. And I don't know, thanks for like answering my questions and being so kind and gentle. And yeah, I guess the lesson when you go to input your data, whether it's a username or a password or something else, like take a second and take a breath and stay curious. Good night, everybody. All right, everybody, this is Scoots with a Tuck You In message for very specific listeners. So if you're listening to me and hearing me right now, I guess I'm here to keep you company, right, as you're trying to fall asleep still. So, yeah, this podcast does work imperfectly, but I'm still here. We're here together. So I just got to clear, are you a super listener or are you a new listener? Are you an occasional listener? Or are you just in the middle of going through something? You've been listening for a couple weeks or a couple months? Or have you been listening for longer than 6 months, longer than a year, longer than 3 years? Do you listen to 1 or 2 episodes, maybe 3 episodes a week? Or do you listen to 4 or 5 episodes a week? Do you listen all night long? Or do you fall asleep fast? If you're one of those last 2 groups, I definitely need you to listen and hear what I'm saying. But any of those super listener groups, right? This is a message specifically for you. The one person, and really, if you're listening and hearing me right now, you probably are the only person hearing me. And if you already said yes, you're 1 out of 20,000 people that get the most out of the podcast, that the podcast on some level is valuable to you. If you're part of one of those groups or multiple parts of those groups, if there's anything valuable about the podcast to you, does it have tangible value? I know it makes your life better. I know that supporting the show will feel really good, but I'm also super confident the Sleep With Me Plus is something we designed with super listeners in mind. And I'm pretty sure you'll miss the show if we have to make drastic changes or it stops existing. Think about that. Like, does that to change the value of the podcast? I've asked before, like if Sleep With Me went away, how much would you pay for it to get it back? Because once we stop it, it's, or cut back anymore, it's going to be tough to, it's just like machinery. The show works like a machine. And if we shut down a part of it and it stops, you understand. Actually, and it doesn't matter anyway. It doesn't even matter if you it just matters if you think the show is valuable and that value has a tangible meaning to you, like you're willing to support the show back. That's always what this membership and supporting the show has been about. But over the past couple of years, I've gotten more and more clarity on how people listen and the degree it's valuable. And so the question is the degree it's valuable to you more than whatever's standing in your way? Particularly if it's just stuff that stands in my way. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Somebody else will do it. My support won't make a difference. I'll do it one day. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. Someone else will do it for me. That's just too much work. And believe me, I've been in that spot where when we say it out loud, it sounds silly. But I'm not trying to be demeaning. Like, I've been in that thing where it's like, that's just too much work to sign up and take 2 minutes to support your podcast. Even as a podcaster, there's been times, well, I'll do it later. I'll support that show later. Sounds like, I mean, I got to go on the website, then I got to look it up, then I got to find my card. So is the value of the podcast more than that or not? Because if it's not, then it's like, okay, I guess that's all I need to know now moving forward. I know I've heard from the people who can't afford to support the show, and I've heard from the people that loathe me asking directly for support. So those groups are well represented, and the people willing to take action right away are well represented. But how big is this group? Like, and what am I up against? Or is that group that's like, and how strong is that resistance? That's what it's gonna come down to, right? Is it that valuable to you? If it's that valuable to you, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus right now and sign up. Push that water up the hill or whatever. Say, hey, you know what? That's not true. The show does matter more to me than 2 minutes. I will go upstairs and find my credit card. This podcast has changed my life. I am a super listener. I do listen all night long, or I have listened for 3 years, or I have listened for 6 months. I do listen 5 nights a week. I do fall asleep fast. I do listen to every episode. I do have playlists. I do have favorites and things I don't like about the show. I have preferences. I have opinions about the show. I listen to older episodes. Yeah. If any of those are yeses for you, maybe say yes to whatever's holding you back and say, hey, yeah, this is important to me. What you're saying, it's more of like a mist that stands in the way, not just of me supporting the podcast that's made my life better, but of other things that's made my life better. Because that's what I've found personally. Because believe me, all those voices, they'd rather me not be asking directly. They'd rather I never had to ask for support ever in the history of the show. But that would have meant when I first had brought in money to hire Posty to work on the show, that's what the choice was. Well, I can't keep doing this without some help. And how much does it cost for somebody to edit 1 episode? Okay, then how much would it be for you to edit 2 episodes? Okay. How much would it be for you to edit 8 episodes a month? Okay, now we have the money to pay you to edit that many episodes a month. Can you do 12 episodes a month? Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, what's the next bill we could start paying? That's how the show developed and kept going. And I plan on keeping it going or keeping at this until I find out, nope, that's okay. It's just not enough. It's not valuable enough to most listeners. That's okay. It's just not valuable enough to most super listeners. If we find that out, then I'll make the hard choices, but I believe it is. And I do think, I do at least suspect from my own personal journey that, yeah, there's a group of listeners that'll never support the show, that are diametrically opposed to it. And there's people who can't support the show, but then most people are in the middle somewhere. And it's just this other stuff, these other obstacles that are real and powerful, but they're not monumental that we got to push through. So if that's you, if you're still saying yes, can you support the show right now before those thoughts start coming back? Like right now, while there's a gap, while you're listening to me, can you pick up your phone? Or can you go upstairs? Can you go downstairs? Can you go in the other room? Can you go to your desk right now and sign up to support the show at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus? Or you could sign up like right on your phone. And by the way, just set up the bonus content tomorrow, you know. You'll hear from me. You'll hear from Sleep With Me Plus and Supercast that runs it for us. But if the door is open now, don't wait because the door is going to close. We both know that because we both have experience in it. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus right now. Thank you so much.